I'm Max Sterling. Welcome to LarpGasm. Today, we're going to talk about license plates. So if you're playing a post-apocalyptic game, there's a really good chance you're going to be using license plates for something. So I wanted to take a minute to talk about how to use these things. So I'm a bit of a car whore, so I actually have a ton of license plates from all the vehicles I've bought over the years. So I don't need to go externally sourcing these things. I have a shitload of them just laying around. Yeah, I'm also into motorcycles, so I have a ton of little ones. These ones are great because you can just use them as like forearm guards, or you can use them for, chest plates, real easy, whatever you want to use them for. So it's great to have a couple of these little motorcycle plates also. As far as vehicle plates, well, depending on your state, not all license plates are created equally. So, for example, here's one I got from when I lived down south, and here's a Pennsylvania one. So, take a look at the two of these. Now, this PA one, it is really sort of solid, but this Alabama one, this thing's like paper. The numbers are like printed on it, whereas on this Pennsylvania one, the numbers are hammered in, they're raised up. So, not all plates are created equal. So, depending on your state, you may have a real easy time dealing with these things, or you may have a tough time dealing with them. So, hopefully you live in a state where they're real easy to deal with. If not, we're going to have a little bit of work to do. Now, I decided to go ahead and use a Pennsylvania plate off of one of my old trucks, and I picked this one because it's the oldest one I have. That's a truck plate, and also, it's got a 69 in the number, so if I'm going to be wearing this, I want it to be, something flashy. 69, So, this is probably the coolest plate I have, so this is the one I'm going to use. I'm going to use it for a shoulder piece. I'm going to mount it onto some football pads. So, I want it to be an articulated piece. Now, I could just take it and bend it and put it on there just like that, but I want it to be like a three-piece sort of articulated thing. So, how do we cut metal? Well, if you're not familiar with tin snips, this is the time to get familiar with them. They're basically big scissors you use to cut metal. They come in a lot of different shapes and sizes. That Alabama plate, I'd probably use these little ones because they'll go right through it. If I'm cutting something heavier, I'm going to need some big ones I can really torque down on to cut. So, I want to go ahead and cut this. I want to cut it into probably 3 equal amounts. So, we'll go ahead and measure it and draw some lines. You can figure that out on your own. But just in case you couldn't figure it out, license plate 6 inches. So every 2 inches you're going to cut if you're cutting this direction. So find your marks and cut. Now you're going to notice that this kind of rolled, so I probably should have cut it this direction instead. That way it would have rolled the direction I wanted it to go. But it's not a big deal. Now, these lines aren't entirely straight, but that's fine because I want this to look, fucked up. It's post-apocalyptic, so we want it to look good, but not too good. So the lines are a little off, and that's great. Now what we're going to do is we're going to have them just overlapping just a little bit on that armor. And this is how we're going to do it. Okay. Now at your LARP, people may yell at you if you have sharp edges and say, well, why didn't you roll those edges? So let's go ahead and talk about how to roll edges real quick. And it's not very hard. You basically just need some pliers or a vise, or if you have the specific tools you need to roll this stuff, that's even better, but most people don't have that type of shit. So if you're going to use pliers, you're in this for the long haul. Basically, you're going to grip a little bit of this edge, and you're going to bend it down. Grip a little bit, bend it down. Grip a little bit, bend it down. And then once you get it over, you want to go ahead and just basically crimp it over so it looks like that. Okay, that's what they mean by rolling. Now if you have a vise, like I have a vise back here, I can do a much larger section at once, so I'm going to use the vise to do this. But if you have pliers, you can do it. It's just go take you a little bit longer. And I think that this actually is going to take away from this significantly, but if it's safer for me and others, then, you know, we do what we got to do. So it doesn't take that long, but it does take a little bit of time, so be prepared. Okay, so you can use the little vise here, like I said, to put this in and then just crimp it. All right, and then it'll be crimped. And then I have a little anvil here, and what you can do is just take hammer and just basically hammer it over. All right, and then it's rolled, and it's not nearly as sharp. All right, and so on and so forth. You get the point. I'm gonna go ahead and do all the rest of them here, and then show you the finished product. When you're doing the corners, it's basically the same deal. Just roll over everything else first and then do the corners. Or you can do the corners first. It's entirely up to you, but you want to make sure that any of these really sharp corner edges, roll them over. Like I said, if you have a vise, that's the best way to go because you can just crush it in there. Saves you a lot of time and effort. Okay, and once we have those rolled over on the back, I'm only doing these sections because this section here I'm going to leave sharp because it won't be an issue. This is actually going to be overlapped by this part, so the sharp stuff will never really come into contact with anything because I want to have it overlap like this on the armor. So basically that's it. So I saved myself some time. I am going to do the edges, but really that's it. So hopefully that's all I need to do. I am, however, fully prepared for when I get to this LARP for people to be little whiny bitches and complain about these edges I didn't roll. If they did, you know what, I'm gonna bring some duct tape and some clear rubber hose, and I'll just put it on there real quick, duct tape it, and fuck them. So workspace is kind of a premium here in my basement, so I'm gonna have to kind of show you how I'm gonna do this here on top of my washing machine, but this is my football pads. I haven't had a chance to remove these logos yet. Realistically, I'm gonna do one of three things I may have already mentioned. I'm going to use either brake parts cleaner to take this off. I'm hoping I can just spray it on here and wipe these off. If I can't do that, then I'll use a process just like I do for debadging Nerf guns. I'll either use the Dremel if it looks like it's going to go fast, or else I'll sand this stuff off. If I get really lazy, I'll just spray paint black over it. But usually you want to avoid that because this stuff is usually raised up, and if you don't get something that eats it off or sand it down, then it'll always pop up and you'll always be able to see these logos. And I mean, even though this is post-apocalyptic type thing, so it is football pads. It's not like you're using it for medieval fantasy and it's supposed to represent, you know, steel or something. But you still don't want that stuff on there. It looks sloppy. Like this has a big raised thing here. I'm going to have to deal with that somehow. But right now, I'm more concerned with attaching my license plate right here on this shoulder pad. So now that I have this cut out, what I want to do is figure out how this is going to need to fit on here to be safe, and then I'm just going to use a drill, hand drill, drill some holes. I may even use these holes that are already existing on here, and then I'm just going to use nut and some bolts, maybe some washers, and tighten it down, and that should hold it right in place real nice. Once it's in place, I may use a hammer to sort of, you know, get it to fit this plastic a little bit better, but if it looks good, I'll probably just leave it be. So this will require a lot of finagling and probably fighting with it a little bit to get it just right. I may video record that, I may not, but this is basically what we're looking to do. I've explained how I'm going to do it, so if it's something that you would like to do, I highly suggest going about the same way. You can stack these however you want to, that you think looks cool. I'm doing it this way because I think it's a little bit safer, but you can do it however you want. And if you really want to, you don't even have to cut the plate. You could literally just take it and probably hammer it onto here and have the whole plate sort of work on there in one piece. I wanted to do it, you know, segmented though. And so that's what it's going to look like. Like I said, I just got to bolt it down. This is going to take, I think, probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'll probably use maybe like 10 bolts on this, because in order to make sure I maintain this curvature, I'm going to need to make sure it's bolted down in a couple places to hold that, because I don't want any of this moving, because this, remember I left this sort of sharp on the inside, so I want to make sure that this doesn't move at all. This part I am going to skip, and I'll just show you what it looks like when it's all done. And there's the final product. Now I may get smaller bolts because these stick down a little ways. If nothing else, I'll get acorn nuts for on the end of here. But that's pretty much it. These aren't going any place. It's nice and attached, covers that whole pad. And if you can try to sort of imagine the look here. So that's it. Now, I'm not a big fan of symmetry, so I would like to leave just this side and do something else over there, and that's probably what I'll do. But if I wanted to, I could do the same thing over on that side and have it all line up. If you like this video, please click like, subscribe to my channel. I have plenty of reviews and all kinds of LARP content, and I don't plan on slowing down anytime soon. As far as the subscription, if you want to be notified when my videos come out, click the little bell. If you don't click the bell, it won't tell you when they happen. You can check me out on Twitter, and if you have anything to comment, you know, or any questions, please feel free to do so below. I'm pretty good at answering them. And as always, adventure on. I'm Max Sterling, and this is my channel. I work here with my old man and my son, Big Hoss. Everything in here has a story and a price. One thing I've learned after 21 years is that you never know what is going to come through that door.